Recently, my family and I went on vacation in Italy, and when we travel, that is the time to try new small games. I go to my friendly local game store before we leave, and I look for small games that I haven't played yet because I like to try new games. But you knew that? And I look for games that are physically small so I can transport them easily. Veggies seem to perfectly fit the bill. Also, they don't just need to be physically small, they also need to be somewhat simple and light and fun so I can more easily convince my family, maybe even the wife, to play with us. So, Veggies perfectly fit that bill. We played in Italy, we had a great time. I can already tell you this is a great light filler that both my kids, that are currently 10 and 11, they enjoyed it. And yes, even the wife enjoyed it. And she's not a strong regular gamer. So this is definitely a game that can also appeal to casual players. Veggies, you're gonna create your own sections of the farmer market in an area where the rules about hygiene are pretty loose, to say the least, just from the number of rats that are allowed to be roaming around the farmer's market. Look at that. Almost every card has some rats. I think every card maybe. Didn't check systematically for that. So, as you can see, the main or the only component of the game is a deck of cards representing different sections of the farmer's market with different combinations of fruits and veggies. Oh, there you go. That's one without the rats. And some empty crates and some crates with a little guest in it. You shuffle the deck at the beginning of the game. You draw 3 cards face up, forming an area the players can later choose cards from. And then you deal a hand of 2 cards to the players. Each player will select a card and place it face up in front of themselves, starting their stall, the tableau that they will be building during the game. And so then each player is also left with a hand of 1 card. Now, Gameplay simplicity itself. During your turn, you will add a card to your tableau. It can be the card from hand, or it can be a card from the section there. If you place your card from hand, then you draw a new one into your hand. If you place a card from there, then you draw a new one to replace that one. Very, very simple. Now, when you place a new card, it can be next to a previously placed cards, or it can be covering a previously placed card. It can cover it partially, it can cover the whole thing if you so desire. So as long as you keep it orthogonal and aligned, so as long as you do weird stuff like that or like that, I mean, why would you? As long as you keep it orthogonal, it can be next or on top. And that's the idea. That was my turn. Then the next turn, I'm looking at my cards and I decide, for example, that I want to play my card from hand and draw instead. And you continue like this for a number of turns. Now, the rulebook says that the game is over when you placed 8 cards. I even looked at multiple versions of the rulebook, the other languages that I speak, and I still couldn't figure out exactly if that included your initial card or not. So if they mean a total of 8 cards, you place the initial 1 plus 7, or the initial 1 plus 8. The way we played it, we place initial card, we place 8 cards after the first. We consider that to be setup, so we play with 9. And you know what? I like it that way. We all like it that way. If it turns out that is the other way, I think we're still gonna play with everybody forming a tableau of 9 cards. Once everybody has that tableau, well, it's time to score. Each player at that point will declare the largest group that they have. So what is the group, the veggie or the fruit that forms the largest group? And after they do so, everybody scores that kind of thing. So if I say bananas, because right now I think my largest group here, I'm doing a bit randomly, my largest group here seems to be bananas, of which I have 5, only 4 grapes. The largest group of strawberries is 2, because they need to be orthogonally adjacent. So if I declare bananas, everybody, not just me, will score bananas. And maybe my daughter Amelia says strawberries, so everybody will score strawberries. So once we know what is going to be scored, this is how each kind of fruit scores. You score a point for each individual, each specimen, each thing in your biggest group. So my biggest group of bananas is 5, so that scores me 5. And I multiply for the number of groups of that type that I have. Right now I have 3 groups of bananas, so bananas score me 15 points. 5 times 3. If I was scoring strawberries, my bigger one is 2, no matter which one, multiplied by 2 because I have 2 groups of those, that's 4 points. And that's the idea. Then you subtract 2 points for each rat that is still visible. And I like that, maybe it's a satire thing, that of course to remove the rats you're simply covering them. Sometimes you're covering them with the image of just an empty crate, or to me it looked like the lid, so I'm also kind of placing a lid on it, so I'm just literally hiding the rat. I guess you're removing it first and then placing something else there because you're responsible farmers market stall owner. This is Veggies. It is so simple, yes, and yet it really works. It is a light, simple game. You play it in 15 minutes or less. The rules are just so simple. Anybody, any casual players, any non-gamers can get it. And yet there is again enough strategy for a 15-minute game to be fun, to be interesting. I would say actually you may have to be careful if you play with your hardcore friends, hardcore gamers, because there is a possibility for analysis paralysis. Because ultimately I'm building my tableau and I definitely want to keep an eye on the tableaus of the other people. Because I want to score well. Not everything's going to get scored. So I see that you're going to probably score carrots and you're probably going to score grapes. Then I can neglect mushrooms entirely, but I should not neglect those things while I'm also building my banana engine, for example. Which also means at the same time, I may be trying to keep my own tableau ambiguous. I may be trying not to give away too early that I'm trying to become the banana king. So I'm gonna look like, well, maybe I'll go for, I have this one in hand, for example. Well, maybe I'll go for grapes. You just don't know. Right now, grapes looks pretty promising. Or maybe I'll go for something else. Maybe there are multiple little groups like that, like strawberries, and then later I place a card that connects multiple groups. For example, this one. Now all of a sudden, I am the strawberry king. I have more strawberries than bananas now. So there is that element which is really important. You'll figure that out, in which you're trying to score well. You're kind of freeload or piggyback ride other people's tableaus while trying to prevent them from exploiting yours too much. And it's such a small thing. It's such a little teeny tiny little thing, but it really holds the game together. Again, for a game where you just take a card from your hand or from the central offer, you place it in your personal area, you play for 15 minutes. I was surprised by how much strategy I felt that I was trying to figure out, but I was surprised by the little indirect interaction that you had there. And most importantly, I was very pleasantly surprised by how much fun we were having. Veggies, for sure, it's a very light game, but in its category of light, super simple fillers, this is definitely a cool one.